What is up everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we will be reacting to what exactly is a super modified. I am very much looking forward to getting into this video as one of you requested it. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe. Over half of you that watch my videos still not subscribed. Just hit the bell, it takes 2 seconds, and if you'd like to become a member on my channel and receive exclusive perks, you can also do that by hitting the join button down below. Alright, let's go.
In my previous video about the modified division in NASCAR, there was one glaring omission that I now have to address. What about dirt modifieds? Well, during the 1960s and into the early 70s, there was a schism in modified racing between whether to stick with dirt or to switch over to asphalt racing. By 1971, IndyCar and NASCAR had held their last dirt races, and the modifieds would soon follow. But as with other racing series, the modifieds had their fair share of dirt holdouts, and their cars began to morph into what we see today. Hiked up rear ends and setups that more closely resemble sprint cars than stock cars. And that only made sense, now that they were outcast from their respective parent disciplines and found themselves racing at the same tracks over and over. It was only natural that some features would bleed over into each other. I mean, just take a look at Asphalt late model legend Gary Ballou over here in the Schaefer 200 at the Syracuse Mile. After all, sprint cars had migrated onto racing at paved tracks, and the asphalt modifieds were still a thing, and all that cross-pollination would eventually culminate into this, the super modified.
They look pretty cool, to be fair.
The super modified is an abomination to all that is holy in car construction. The car is radically offset to the left side, and the engine is grotesquely mounted outside of the frame rails, like someone's still beating heart sticking out of their rib cage. As if that wasn't enough, there's even a sprint car inspired wing mounted on top of the car that is even equipped with a Formula 1 style drag reduction system, so that it'll lay flat on the straights and pop back up in the corners. With the super modifieds, we have an exact place, a time, and even a name.
Go on then. Educate me. 1961.
In 1951, William Caruso founded the Oswego Speedway in Oswego, New York, on the southeastern side of Lake Ontario. Originally a dirt track, the speedway was paved in 1952 and became a hot spot for local racing, and even popped up on the NASCAR Modified Tour. With its big purses and steel walls, the track quickly gained the nickname the Steel Palace. In 1961, the Caruso family lengthened the track from 3/8 of a mile to 5/8, giving it its now signature curved backstretch. Eagle-class modifieds were popular in the Midwest, and they were more or less just regular modified bodies hung on purpose-built chassis, and they were known to come out to upstate New York and compete against the vibrant modified scene there. The very next year, the Caruso family started holding weekly super modified races, and that brought in even more drivers to start pushing the envelope of what was thought possible on pavement. Relatively standard super modified designs were the most popular throughout the early to mid-60s. And I say relatively because each one looked completely unique. Some were purpose-built race cars, some were heavily altered street cars at one point, and a few even began their lives as sprint cars. These creations were built by hand in garages all across the country by guys who never got engineering degrees. And since there were no templates or really any rules for that matter, guys just went hog wild. But in 1966, competitor Todd Gibson had a breakthrough. What if I just take an Indy Roadster, put a roll cage on it, and race that? Sure, man, go for it. But these Indy cars weren't just fast because of their sleek lines. Oh no. They had offset drive lines with the engines pushed slightly to the left side and the driver sitting on the right. But one man was about to turn everything upside down. One mad lad from nearby Clay, New York, was not content with the Indy Roadster design and began thinking as far outside the box as he possibly could.
Wow, look at that.
His name was Jim Champagne. His revolutionary wedge design was so unorthodox that I could probably make an entire video just about it. But suffice it to say, the thing was a straight up downforce factory. And in order to get the weight distribution right, he began mounting essential components in seemingly random spots. The radiators, yes, radiators, plural, were mounted on the left and right sides behind the front tires, and the nose actually dipped below the front axle. Jim wasn't just creating curious-looking cars, though. He was winning in these things. In just 8 years, he got 5 track championships and 59 feature wins, including 2 wins at the International Classic. One guy even tried a 3-in-1 configuration where he put 3 wheels on the right side and 1 on the left. They said you had to have 4 wheels, but they never did say where those wheels had to be located. Unfortunately, though, it never won. This was all just insanity. These were just regular guys like you and me straight up building F1 cars in their backyards. Champagne, not to be outdone by his competitors, went back to his garage and created something that actually resembles a super modified from today, the radical offset design. With the engine mounted outside the frame rails, Jim offset the driveline a full 18 inches from the center line of the car.
Wow.
It was so far offset that even the drive shaft was outside of the car's frame. In
No way.
1977, he raced the car for the first time and won in his very first and second starts ever. He would eventually win 11 weekly features that year in a row. But being the mad scientist that he wasn't entirely satisfied with his designs, and he wanted to push the envelope to see what was possible at the 5/8 of a mile track. In 1979, he unveiled his own rear-engine car, the Green Machine. The car was made as wide as possible and everything was squished over to the left side. And to cap it all off, the rear-end scoop wing looked like it was taken off of a front-end loader. Heck, you could just about fill that thing with water and take a bath in it. In 1980, though, rule mandates from the Speedway would outlaw rear-engine cars, thus leaving the radical offset design from 1977 as the design of choice for super-modified competitors at Oswego. Dozens of wind channels brought the air gently to its perfectly crafted rear wings, so that the car would plant itself in the ground and zip through the corners like nothing else. Combine that with its IndyCar-esque front wing and Formula One style independent front end and inboard suspension, and you had an unbeatable car. Left with its raw brushed stainless steel bodywork, Booth's number 61 machine was dubbed the Silver Bullet. By 2005, Oswego would ban independent front suspension, and the car went into mass production. Now anybody could get in on the action if they had the cash and the willpower. And that led to the explosion in popularity of the International Super Modified Association. Originally founded in 1974 by Oswego competitors Jim Shampine and Nolan Swift, the ISMA continues the no-holds-barred style of racing that made the Supers what they are today. ISMA Super Modifieds ditched the rear wing in favor of a massive sprint car style wing, and they even have a drag reduction system for it. It's not electronic like in Formula One, and it actually doesn't take any inputs from the driver. Instead, the wing is mounted on pneumatic pistons, and once the car reaches a certain speed, the weight of the air rushing over it will cause it to lay flat, and when the driver hits the brakes for the corner, the wing will pop back up as an air brake and give the car more downforce where it's needed. It's honestly one of the most clever things I think I've ever seen in a race car. Super Modifieds in this division also have a unique tire layout. Every tire at every corner of the car is a different width and rubber compound, and the naturally aspirated methanol-fueled engines produce nearly 900 horsepower, and when running flat out, they can smoke a NASCAR Cup car at most venues, as was demonstrated at the Bristol Speed Trials back in 2011. Oswego is the mecca for all modified racing in the world, hosting weekly racing for Supers, ISMA events, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, and even dirt modifieds. Yeah, dirt. If you go on Google Maps right now and take a look at the aerial view of Oswego, you'll see the entire venue covered in dirt. Once a year during Super Dirt Week, they bring in a bunch of New York clay and put on dirt races for 3 days straight, and the dirt modifieds are always at the top of the ticket. Originally, Super Dirt Week was held at the Moody Mile at the Syracuse Fairgrounds, but in 2015 the track was torn down and the event needed a new home. Oswego was the obvious choice. Just a short drive up the road and already the nexus of every other type of modified racing in the world, there was simply no more fitting alternative.
Oh my god, the noise. Wow. That was very cool to learn about. I wish they did that sort of racing over here. So that I could go see it in person. It's a bit annoying. Hopefully one day I'll be able to go see a race like that. It'd be super cool. And the noise at the end that they make, oh my god. Like I've said many times before, no matter what motorsport I'm watching, just the sound of an engine roaring is the most euphoric noise ever. I can't get over it. But yeah, I did enjoy that. So with that being said, if you have any other videos that you'd like me to react to, drop them in the comments. I'm working my way through everybody's suggestions at the moment. If you did want to check out any of my other socials, they are all linked down below. And if you want to become a member on this channel and receive exclusive perks, you can also do that by hitting the join button down below. But I hope you enjoyed today's reaction, and I will catch you next time for the next one. Bye!